It all began on a scorching summer afternoon at a remote corner of an aging gas station near a desolate Nevada highway. The sun hung high and unforgiving, casting elongated shadows across the fractured pavement. A slight, elderly man wearing a worn military jacket made his way toward his corroded pickup truck, gripping a gasoline canister and a wooden walking stick. His identity was Walter Grayson, a 78-year-old combat veteran whose frame had been curved by the years, yet whose gaze still retained the silent fortitude of a soldier who had witnessed far too much. He advanced deliberately, his cane striking the ground in a steady rhythm. On the opposite side of the parking area, four youthful men dressed in gaudy attire, decorated with tattoos and clutching costly smartphones, were preparing for yet another of their internet sensation prank recordings. They identified themselves as the Prime Crew: Jake, Theo, Mason, and Leo. Social media influencers who pursued nothing beyond views, notoriety, and the next scandalous footage that might earn them countless likes. Walter remained oblivious to their presence initially. His sole intention was to fuel his aging vehicle and return home. However, Mason caught sight of him, elbowed Jake, and smirked. "Let's film a segment, mocking a cranky elderly man challenge," he murmured. They chuckled, unaware of how catastrophically this would unfold. Jake activated the camera, and the quartet encircled Walter like predators surrounding their quarry. One of them kicked the walking stick from his grasp, sending it clattering onto the asphalt. Another snatched his cap and flung it onto the hood of his truck. Walter stood motionless, bewildered and shaken, attempting to maintain his stability. Then, unexpectedly, Jake advanced and struck him forcefully across the face. The impact resonated sharply through the atmosphere, eliciting shocked gasps from observers who had begun watching from afar. Walter staggered, gripping his cheek, the gasoline container toppling and spreading its contents across the pavement. If you hold the conviction that kindness and respect should remain timeless values, that our world requires greater compassion and diminished cruelty, please pause to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Untold Stories 0.4. Your engagement preserves narratives like this and reinforces the belief that humanity endures. For several moments, the social media creators laughed maniacally, capturing Walter's disorientation and degradation. "Speak something for the camera, old man," one taunted mockingly. Yet Walter simply regarded them with vacant eyes. Not enraged, not vengeful, merely disheartened. That expression alone, however, started making several onlookers deeply uneasy. Still, before anyone could step forward, the profound roar of engines started reverberating through the surroundings. From the distant end of the highway, a procession of motorcycles emerged, gleaming beneath the sunlight like a barrier of steel and power. Approximately 40 of them appeared, members of the Iron Hawks, a motorcycle club recognized throughout the territory not merely for their toughness, but their unwavering loyalty and sense of justice. They were returning from a commemorative ride honoring deceased veterans. The amusement of the influencers weakened as the bikers decelerated to a stop, creating a semicircle around the gas station. Their commander, a towering muscular man sporting a gray beard and intense eyes named Ryder Cole, dismounted from his motorcycle. The atmosphere became charged and silent. "What's happening here?" he inquired calmly, his tone subdued yet authoritative. One of the younger bikers gestured toward Walter, who was now struggling to retrieve his cane. Ryder's attention followed the shaking veteran's movements, then shifted to the grinning young men still grasping their phones. The revulsion in his expression was unmistakable. "You boys find this amusing," he stated, advancing closer. The social media creators attempted to dismiss it with laughter. "It's merely content, man. Don't interpret it so gravely," Jake responded, still clutching his. Phone. However, before he could continue, Ryder extended his hand and seized the device, launching it against the pavement where it exploded into fragments. "That's your content," he snarled. The remaining bikers dismounted, gradually approaching the group. The earth nearly trembled beneath their footsteps. Terror spread through the Prime Crew. Theo stuttered, "We didn't intend." It's merely a prank. Yet nobody was paying attention. Ryder glanced back at Walter and inquired gently, "Sir, are you unharmed?" Walter acknowledged weakly, massaging his cheek. "I'm fine, son. Don't harm them. They're simply misguided." However, the bikers didn't perceive misguided youth. They witnessed cruelty. They witnessed disrespect toward a man who had once defended the very liberty these youngsters exploited to record their antics. One biker, a hefty former Marine named Colton, stepped forward and declared, "You struck a veteran. That's not something you depart from unscathed." The social media creators started retreating, but the circle had constricted. The subsequent few minutes remained unfilmed. Nobody documented what transpired, not because they were unable, but because they shouldn't. What the bikers administered wasn't brutal retaliation, but a teaching moment they would eternally remember. They compelled the young men to clean the spilled gasoline, apologize before witnesses, and kneel before Walter seeking forgiveness. Individually, the social media creators collapsed emotionally, weeping, comprehending the severity of their actions. The assembled crowd started applauding, not in ridicule, but in admiration. Walter observed them with a melancholy smile. "It's not your physical strength that defines you," he expressed softly. "It's the manner in which you wield it." The bikers assisted him back to his truck, and Ryder personally refilled it, declining to accept any payment. "You're a hero, sir," he stated quietly. Walter smiled faintly. "Not any longer, merely an elderly man who was fortunate that kindness still survives." He tipped his cap and departed slowly, leaving behind 4 young men who would never again lift a hand to ridicule anyone. Later that evening, the video they had captured somehow appeared online, though not as they anticipated. It wasn't uploaded by them. Someone from the gas station had posted the footage displaying the assault, the bikers' arrival, and the moment the social media creators knelt before Walter. Within hours, it became viral. Comments poured in from across the globe from veterans, bikers, and ordinary individuals who expressed the identical sentiment. This represents what genuine respect embodies. Weeks afterward, the Prime crew published their concluding video, a sincere apology. They announced they were removing their prank channel and instead launching a charity for homeless veterans. Walter's photograph hung behind them as they addressed the camera, a representation of the humility they'd acquired through hardship.